Hello everyone, welcome to Be Happy Now, Mindfulness for Women Part 4. I'm very sad that this is our last webinar in this series, but I'm really excited to be sharing with you some more tools from mindfulness around how to be happy no matter what. So today we're going to dive deep into how to get a sense of contentment, how to accept what's going on in your life so that you can get a kind of sense of resilience and just the capacity to accept whatever life throws at you and not to be knocked around by things. So a big welcome to you all today. Now, just to make sure that you can hear me okay and see the screen, if you just want to put your hands up, let me know that you can hear me and see me fine, that the system's working. Just click your hands. It's that little orange hand symbol on the side of your control panel. Perfect. Thank you. Good. Lovely. All right. Fabulous. So before we go into a whole lot about being happy no matter what, I just want to touch base with you on how you went last week. So last week we were talking about stress and how stress is created from the conflict between internal demands. If you have more demands on you than you have internal resources, it creates a sense of stress. And then we looked at how we then turn that demand into a sense of internal anxiety, which actually is the optional piece. So demands we may or may not be able to sort, but the internal anxiety is something that we can definitely change. So how did you go with that? Did you do your homework? How did you go with your homework? We looked at, for homework, we looked at the anxiety antidote, so identifying the story that you're telling yourself about something that's going on, which selves, which sub-personalities are creating it. Is it coming from the perfectionist wanting you to be perfect, or the pusher wanting you to be busy all the time, or the pleaser wanting you to have everybody like you? And then we asked you to look at, what are you unwilling to feel that's under that? Is that shame that's driving the need to have people like you? Or is it a sense of failure that's having people you want, that's driving you to have people approve of you or to feel successful? And then we looked at mindful de-stressing, like just watching the feelings, watching the thoughts float past and getting to a place of surrender. And then we did the mountain meditation, that place of being very still and noticing what doesn't change, even though thoughts and emotions can come and go. So how did you go with that? I'd love you to type in a question. I'll stay behind at the end of the call and answer any questions by opening the lines to you. But if you want to just type anything into me at any time, just put that in the question box and I'll have a chat about that. So how did you go with your homework? Did you manage to de-stress mindfully? All right, we have Sarah saying, had a few challenges. A few challenges, a bit hit and miss. Yep, absolutely. So mindfulness, remember that the patterns that we have in our mind, we go through thousands of times. We do thousands of times the same thoughts. I'm not good enough, we will say to ourselves hundreds of thousands of times. So remember that you're turning around the Titanic, if you like, with your mind, and it takes a little bit of effort. So if you think of how many, probably hundreds of thousands of times you've said to yourself, I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not, I'm never going to be good at this stuff. Whatever it is, then, and you just try and let that go or come to a different place in yourself. Maybe you do that half a dozen times and you think, God, this is hard. I'm not saying you have to be positive 100,000 times, but you just have to realize how deep those patterns are in the mind that we think habitually. It's like a real, track on a CD. Once it's burnt on the CD, it always plays that. So mindfulness is about stepping out of that track of the CD and really, really observing rather than doing it. Bronwyn's saying, I've just had the same problematic morning that I've had 1,000 times. I'm finding it hard to stop. You're right. So the morning you may not be able to stop, but you can stop your response to it. And it's really in the moment. It's every time in the moment we have a feeling or a thought come up, we have the opportunity to observe, to watch, to let it go. And the challenge, I think, for most of us is to get there quick enough. Because by the time you're running the same pattern and the morning's rolled out in the same way, you've missed the clues that will help you to cut the pattern before it rolls itself out, right? So it's just you need to get a little more kind of aware in the moment, and that's your body will give you clues. Like if you're starting to feel stressed, or you're starting to feel overwhelmed, or you're starting to feel taken for granted or unloved, right, or any of those things that are the triggers, you'll find that actually before you get exhausted, or before you get to feel like you can't cope, or you get reactive, it's your body tells you. So you get tight in the chest, or your stomach gets all churny, or you start feeling a bit teary. Your body will tell you what you're feeling. And so that's the time to apply some of the mindfulness tools, rather than later down the track when it's caught up in behavior and reaction. Yep. So that's the real trick. And it's just getting a practice of coming back. We did the 1 minute every hour. That's not a lot in a day, right? That's 10 minutes during a day, or 12 minutes during a day. It's not a lot of time. Whereas ideally the goal is to be fully present and fully aware all the time, right? So it's just recognizing that most of us spend a lot of our time in what I would call a trance of repetitive behavior, repetitive thought, repetitive responses. And it's breaking that. But even if you get that 1 minute an hour, that's fine. A minute out of the trance is better than no minutes at all. So please don't judge yourselves if if you kind of feel like you're up against it. That's okay. You need to love yourself anyway for having those feelings, and to realize that it's a new practice, and anything that will help you remember at this point is really helpful. So the mindful minutes every hour. I think I said that I put blue dots all around my house at one point. So every time I saw a blue dot, I kind of just reminded myself to go, what am I thinking right now? Do I want to keep thinking that? Do I want to keep feeling stressed in my body, or do I want to make different choices? So you can do blue dots. You can kind of make yourself an anchor that whenever you touch a door handle, you remember to get present, or whenever you pick up a cup, you remember to get present, or you put a little sticky on your computer. It really is just to gain some presence during the day, and tiny bit often is the easiest way to go, rather than some people just go into a weekend retreat or 10-day Vipassana meditation and kind of expect to come out of that having sorted it. I think it's much better to just do a little moment at a time. And can you brush your teeth with presence? Can you drive your car knowing that you're present and allowing yourself to feel those things? So discouragement is definitely not required here. Okay, you're all doing fine. You're here, you're practicing, you have the willingness to change, and that's really the key. So mountain meditation, if that's good for you, Bronwyn said that was useful. Great, keep doing that one, right? And the remembering doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be exhausting. It's just remember in a light, easy way, like a fun way, I'm going to remember to just check in with myself right now because I'm feeling stressed. Close your eyes, breathe, feel your feet on the floor. Check in, is there really a problem here? And come back to the moment. I'll give you a little, another thing that might help here. So there are 3 fears that you're allowed to have. One is of loud noises, one is of heights, and one is of fast-moving objects. So if you're on the top of a building being chased by a roaring, fast-moving tiger, you have a problem. And I would say, run, jump, get off that place as quickly as possible. Or if you're crossing a road and there's a honking truck bearing down on you at 90 miles an hour, you know what I mean? Like, get out of there. So fear is okay if it's about something that is threatening your life. But for many of us, we get caught into a state of anxiety or fear, not because we're physically threatened, but because we are worried that we might feel sad or rejected or unloved or not good enough. So a really nice little tip is to, when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, is to look around the room and go, hang on a minute, is there actually a tiger? Is there a real tiger? Is there a real problem in this moment? And if there isn't, it's what we call emotional fears. We're actually afraid of our own emotions, right? Which we've talked about that with emotional allergies and the open heart part of the mindfulness kind of equation, the mindfulness formula. So it's about allowing your feelings. But is there really a problem? Look around, do the tiger check. Yeah, look around and see if there's actually a tiger. And if you're thinking that the tiger is because some kid of yours hasn't put their socks away, or the washing machine's still full, or there's plates on the sink, that's not really a tiger. Do you get what I'm saying? Does that make sense, everyone? If it's a real physical threat, be scared. But otherwise, it's something emotional in you that you're not willing to deal with or not willing to face in that moment, and that's a simple check of finding out whether there's a real problem can really help cut that old pattern. Okay, good. So I want you all to just appreciate your willingness, appreciate your efforts, and say something encouraging to yourselves right now. Give yourself a big hug and pat on the back. You're all doing just fine. Okay, so let's move on to happy no matter what today, right? Part 4. So we talked before about how the first step is acceptance, and acceptance is the key, really, accepting what's happening in the moment, which means this child of mine has not done their socks, or the washing machine's full, or the things on the side are not the way I want them, but that's how it is. And from that place, you can find peace with the socks being in a mess or the towels on the floor. And that's really the opportunity here, is to find a sense of peace, even in the middle of chaos or even in the middle of overwhelm, because you can recognize the overwhelm or the chaos for what it is, which is just something that's going on around you. Once you can find a place of peace, then naturally there's more joy that comes back into people's lives. You can feel a sense of enjoyment around a lot more of life, rather than just the sometimes small times that we have when things are going our way. And from there, the next step is this freedom part, which is where you're just free of the old sub-personalities that say it's only okay when I'm perfect, or it's only okay when everything's looking great in the kitchen, or it's only okay when everybody's liking me or loving me. That you can be okay no matter what. So let's have a look at how that can happen. First of all, I want to check in with you to see how much of the time you feel that you're happy right now. So how are your happiness levels? So I'm going to put a poll up on the screen. Okay, so how often do you feel happy? So select one of the following. Just pick up your mouse and you can click on the screen. So do you feel happy always, most of the time, sometimes, occasionally, or never? So just picking up your mouse and clicking on one of those options. A couple more people to vote. So there's just picking up your mouse and clicking on the screen. That's how you can click on that one. Okay. All right, another couple of seconds. Someone else to vote there. Okay, good. Interesting. All right. Interesting. We have a clear winner here with sometimes. So sometimes. So for you, if you're feeling like sometimes you can be happy, then you want to look at what kind of stories you have that you're telling yourself is the reason why you can be happy. Is it when everything's perfect? Is it when things are going well for you, or people are saying nice things to you? What situations, when are those sometimes that you can feel really happy? It's good to know that, because then you can start to unpick it. So I want you now to list all the times that you're happiness. So get a piece of paper and a pen and list out all the times that you're happiness. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to do that. Just grab a paper and pen, or your computer if you want. All the times you're happiness. Is it when you're walking the dog? Is it when the kids are asleep and you're watching them sleep? Is it when you and a partner are out on a date? Is it when you're walking through the forest? Is it when you're by yourself? Is it when you're on the beach? Is it when you feel like you don't have anything to do? When are you happiest? And writing down anything else that comes up. Good. Okay. Now I want you to list all the times that you aren't happy. When do you not feel happy? Is that when there's chaos around you? Is it when things are disorganized? Is it when you feel like you're not doing well at work? Is it when you are having conflict? When you feel overwhelmed with things to do? When do you not feel happy? Maybe when you're by yourself. When you feel judged. Just writing down all the times that you don't feel happy. Okay, good. And now I want you to list all the places and situations or states that you could never ever be happy in. So just have a think about it. Could you, for some of you, it might that you could never imagine being happy by yourself. Some of you might be, I could never imagine being happy in a relationship. Some of you might be, I could never imagine being happy if I lost my job, or if I lost my house, or if my partner left me, or if I was ill, or I was in prison, or I lost my money, or I didn't have breakfast, or anything. Just list all the places or situations that you feel that you couldn't even imagine being happy in. Okay, and any last things? Okay, good. There's probably quite a lot of them, right? There's often a lot of those ones. Okay, good. Well done. So let's have a look at this. So your future, let's say that your future is that. It's a circle with all possible outcomes. Remembering that as human beings, we can see backwards in time, but we can't see forwards. Just some strange anomaly, but we can see backwards. We can remember the past. We can imagine the future, but we can't actually see into the future yet until they design a machine that allows us to. So all possible outcomes are included in that circle, and that means every possible thing that could possibly ever happen to you is in that circle. Now, for most of us, what we want is this little tiny red slice here. So we want the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the husband that remembers our anniversary and buys us flowers, and to be really healthy and to have heaps of money in the bank and a nice car to drive and a big TV and a lovely house with roses on the outside. You know what I mean? The outcome that you want is a little tiny slice of all possible outcomes. Does that make sense, everyone? Please ask any questions as we go through it, because this is important. Now, that's great, right? You know what you want. You know how you want your future to be. You just listed it all out. Those are the things that are going to make you happy. Now, what's the deal here with life? How do we get that little red slice and we avoid this big blue slice of the pie? How do we do that? Well, I've got some bad news. I don't think we can. And the reason why I say I don't think we can is because you just have to turn on the TV, read a newspaper, talk to a friend to find out that somebody somewhere is experiencing something about their life that they didn't plan or didn't want. And I'm pretty sure that most of you on the line will be able to say that there's something that's happened to you that you didn't want. Okay? Now, this is not being negative. It's just looking at the fact that however much you want stuff, however much you do positive thinking, however much you take responsibility for your state and your outcomes, and you do the law of attraction and you study all the personal development stuff, shit still happens. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Good things happen to good people too, and bad things happen to bad people. Just stuff happens, and there is some force of creation that sometimes delivers us not what we want and sometimes gets it bang on task. Okay? So even though you can be the most conscious person on the planet, and even though you do all your affirmations and think wonderfully positive thoughts, I still have met many, many, many hundreds and thousands of people over my time with working with people who are not getting exactly what they want. Is that fair enough to say? So, what do we do about this? Now, rather than trying to control life into just the outcomes that you want, if you just stick on focusing on trying to make your husband be the way you want, or your partner, or your girlfriend, trying to get the right car or get your house sparkly and clean enough, trying to get your job to be as good as you want, trying to control life to be exactly the way that you want, if you do that, you are always pushing away everything that's in the blue. You don't want anything that's in the blue to happen. What I'm saying is, even with your best intentions, you might get some blue. Is that fair enough? You might get some of the blue stuff that you don't want. So the solution at the big level here is to be okay with all possible outcomes. To accept that actually, sometimes shit happens. Actually, sometimes you don't get what you want. Actually, sometimes it's terrible. Actually, sometimes really awful things happen. And part of being okay with life is going, yup, I could live 50 years, I could live 20 years, I could live 5 years, I could live 1 year, or I can live another week. And I don't know which it is, but I have to be okay with it, and I have to live my life in the way that I want, and be okay with the fact that actually even the rest of my day is uncertain. So living with uncertainty and living with all possible outcomes is one of the quickest ways to find freedom. Because otherwise, you can see that you're always trying to control everything so that you feel safe, so that you feel secure, so that you get what you want. When actually, it's probably not going to work. It's probably not going to work that you get every single thing that you want. So that's the bad news. However, this, for security, like I was just saying, the security of getting what you want, right? The happiest, freest people are those who have let go of needing security or certainty. Tony Robbins, who I'm sure you've all heard of, he's a world-renowned NLP trainer and personal development trainer. He talks about the 6 human needs, and security is one of those needs. And he says that people's lives are directly proportional to the degree of certainty that they need. If they need a lot of security and certainty, it's directly correlated with how much freedom they have. In other words, you can't find freedom if you need security and certainty. If you let go of the illusion of security and certainty and realize that actually anything can happen at any time to anybody, and you just have to live with that, and you just have to be okay anyway, those people are free and happy. And it's not being negative, it's just accepting that death is a part of life, that illnesses are a part of life, that accidents are a part of life, and that anything that can happen to any other human being on the planet could also happen to you. I'm sitting in my lovely house right now, but a helicopter could fall on my house, or a random car could, drive through the window and get me. Like the cooker could blow up, like bizarre things happen all the time. And it's not to focus on them, but it's to be okay anyway. It's to let go of this. The ego wants security more than anything else, right? It wants security, certainty. I want to be okay. I want to be safe. I want to know that I'm going to be loved and secure forever and ever, and that those around me are going to be perfect. You don't know that. It's the ego wanting that. And when you can let go into that and find the freedom of just going, okay, we talked before about surrender. Okay, I surrender, I let go, and I'm just going to be in the moment because that's all I can say is actually happening. Then there's a huge amount of freedom. Security doesn't exist. I'm going to say it again. Security does not exist. Financial security doesn't exist. Banks go bang. Look at countries. Greece has gone kind of imploded. People, the banks took the money out of their bank accounts, right? This is not about negativity. It's just looking at nothing is secure. If you go to a Zen monastery, which you may or may not do, you'll spend the first year contemplating what they call impermanence. Impermanence is part of Buddhism, it's part of Zen, and it's simply the fact that everything changes. Everyone you know is going to die. Everything that you can see in your room is at some point going to atrophy and decay. Um, everything, your house eventually will fall down, will be knocked down. Everything changes. There is no security or certainty, actually, and letting go of that and just going, well, right now I'm alive and I still have legs and a nose and arms that work, allows you to be in the present, allows you to be grateful, and allows you to take every single moment as a gift. So letting go of your need for security is so important in the journey to freedom. So have a look now at what security do you need? Do you need to feel financially secure? Do you need to have the security of being in a relationship or trying to get a relationship? Do you need the security of having wealth, feeling like you've made it or you're financially free perhaps? Do you need the security of your career to feel like you've been successful, that you've got the security maybe of a position or status perhaps with your career? Do you need the security of approval? Do you want to have people around you who tell you that you're fabulous, who tell you that, you're doing a great job? Does that make you feel secure? Do you need the security of love, of feeling loved, of having other people tell you that they love you? Do you need the security of your beauty? Your youth and your beauty. And some women really, really struggle with that as we get older and our beauty changes and it's not the same as it was when we were young. Some people struggle with that. Or being right. Some people get a lot of security from being right and knowing stuff and being kind of the expert and knowing what's going on. So just again, making some notes about what security do you need? Where do you hang on? Where do you hang on? It'll be some of those things. It might be something else. If you've got something else, you want to type that into the question box for me as well. Where do you really hang on to security? And sometimes we don't know how much we're hanging on to something until it goes. I certainly have, in my life, have thought, I know mindfulness, I teach it, I'm pretty good at letting go of stuff and just being with things in the present. And I'm not really attached to things, but when something went, like my wealth went at one point, a relationship went, I really found how attached to that I was. So I'm very keen about that we can have anything. We can have anything in life as long as we're not attached to it. In other words, as long as we don't put our security onto it and we feel that we need it to be okay. Is that clear? Like if you feel you need a certain amount of money in the bank and you lose it, you'll be suffering. If you feel like you have to be in a relationship to be okay, to feel good about yourself, and it ends for some reason, you'll be in a mess. If you feel like you're really attached to your career and you get to feel good about yourself because of your career and your status, and for some reason that job finishes or ends, you'll be a mess again. If you're happy because you look great and you've got fabulous legs and no wrinkles, and give it 10 years or 20 years and that starts to change, again, you'll feel really disheartened and even depressed and unhappy. So do you see what we're getting at here? If your happiness is dependent on anything outside you, you're lost because it could change. So remember, the definition of suffering is the difference between what you want and what you get is suffering. So if you want to be in Bora Bora and you're sitting in Swindon, you'll be suffering. If you want to be taller than you are and you're short, you'll be suffering. If you want to have more money in the bank and you don't, you'll be suffering. If you want your partner to take out the rubbish every Thursday and he never does, you'll be suffering. So it's the difference between what you want and what is or what you get that dictates the degree to which you're going to suffer in your life. So what I'm saying here is that the degree to which you can accept what you get, and that's moment by moment, it's not just the big things, it's moment by moment by moment. Can you say yes to this moment even if it's chaotic? Can you say that yes to this next moment even though you're feeling sad? Can you say yes to this next moment even though you've got flu? Can you say yes to this next moment, even though you haven't got as much money in the bank as you want? If you can keep saying yes and accepting the moment, you can be free no matter what. So the definition of suffering is wanting something to be different from how it is. The acceptance itself is what brings freedom. So if we look at this formula again, we want to look at where does that come from? Where does that need for certainty and security come from in you? Which subpersonality is it? That's that chart of subpersonalities we've talked about before. What is it for you? Often people with strong perfectionists need a lot of security and certainty. So if you need the carpet to be clean, if you need the dishes to be done, if you need yourself to look perfect, if you need everything around you to be perfect, if you need your performance to be perfect, then you'll get caught up in that need for certainty. People with strong rule makers, everything has to be done a certain way, right? That's, again, a very strong need for certainty. Being responsible, you need things to be certain. People with a strong pleaser want the certainty of being liked and loved. People with a strong pusher want the certainty of being active and ticking things off the list and getting stuff done and being productive. So have a look at that chart and make some notes about which subpersonality for you creates that sense of certainty and urgency and pressure around having life be exactly how those parts of you want it to be. What is it for you? Type some notes into the question box for me. Oh yes, perfectionist, of course, the good old perfectionist. Sarah's saying perfectionist of having everything looking fabulous and clean and tidy. Yep. The pleaser, making sure everybody likes you, everyone's happy with you and there's no conflict. Yep, that's a good place to try and look for certainty and probably not find it. Okay, and being responsible for everyone, wanting to make sure that that everyone's okay all the time, everything's done, everyone's okay, and that everything's working properly. Yep, good. Oh, we've got the rebel and the pusher combined with a bit of pleaser. Yep, good. Yeah, so the rebel wants things one way, right? And the pusher wants things another way. And the pleaser wants everyone to be happy and everyone to like you. I want a bit of slob too. Yeah, the slob can want certainty of not having to do stuff or not having to bother to, make things right. Yeah, good. Thanks, everyone. Great. Love it. Here is such a beautiful quote. Ego says, once everything falls into place, I will find peace. Spirit says, find peace and everything will fall into place. The more you let go, the more things drive right back up your drive. If you let go of needing things to be a certain way, then you can have them. If you let go of the attachment to things, you can often have them. There's nothing to say that on a path of awareness, of a path to being more mindful, you don't have to give stuff up. You don't have to go and be a nun in a nunnery or in a monastery. You can have everything that you want. You can run $1 million or $1 billion business if you want to, if you're not attached to it. And this is the tricky bit, is having and being open to life without the attachments, because the attachments are fear, the attachments are grasping, and the attachments are the things that actually get in our way of having this freedom and happiness no matter what place. Excuse me. So ego says, once everything falls into place, I will find peace. And this is the way most of us are operating most of the time. Turn on the telly and this is what the adverts are telling you. Once I get my kitchen clean enough, I will find peace and happiness. Once my teeth are clean and sparkly enough, everything's going to be okay, right? Whereas with a mindfulness or what people call a spiritual journey, it's looking for the peace in this moment, right now. And from that place of let go and peace and acceptance, then we find flow. We find our soft power. We find way to flow with life and have things just come to us on a plate. Okay? And I was just talking to a couple of clients this week, and one of them was saying how she's really struggled with letting go of control and being superwoman. But she's, excuse me, she's really letting go of that now. And she says she cannot believe how by embracing variety, how embracing the lack of security and being okay with her fears, suddenly she's, the other day she was offered a massive amount of money to do property with. This does property, creative property strategies. She'd met a nice man. She's found a nice house to live in, and she was having the most amazing experience of just stuff magically turning up. You get that. You get into flow by letting go of your fears, by letting go of your attachments. And it's so hard when the ego says, no, but I have to hang on. I have to make it right. I have to go back to that little red slice of the pie and make sure everything looks the way I want it. And then I'll be okay. If I can just stay in Superwoman long enough and make my life the way I want it, it's all going to be okay. Do you get what I'm saying? Find peace. Go for peace first, because you don't need anything to find peace. You don't need anything to find happiness. You just have to look for it. You just have to actually go there rather than assuming that it only comes when life's a certain way. Is this making sense, everyone? Let me know if you have any questions. Such an important quote. Okay, so let's do the empty bowl meditation now. The empty bowl meditation. So I'd like you to get comfy. We're going to do a close eye meditation. So if you're walking or driving, you can do this at another time. You can just listen, but obviously not close your eyes. So if it's safe for you to do so, just get comfortable, close your eyes, and go ahead, get present in your body, and take a deep breath. Breathing in and out. You might want to place your hands with your palms up and open, placed on your knees. Go ahead, open your mouth slightly. And start by paying attention to your breath. Letting your lungs breathe air in with no effort on your part, just watching the movement of your breath as your body inhales and exhales all by itself. During inhalation, the air touches the inside of the nostrils or the mouth, just noticing the breath. And during exhalation, the air touches the nostrils or the mouth again. So the incoming air may feel cool and the outgoing air might feel warm. And as we did before in a previous exercise, putting our attention into a different place in the body, I want you to imagine now that you can put your attention inside your nostril, to kind of be in your nostril, just sensing the air coming in and coming out. Watching the air coming in through your nostril and out. And then with the next breath, watching the air coming in through your nostril to the back of your throat, travel with the air down the trachea, into your lungs, into the heart, into the diaphragm expanding. Go deep down behind the navel almost, to the depth of the breath, where you will experience a natural stop. For a fraction of a second, the breath stops. So stay in that stop, and then when the lungs exhale, follow again the breath as it reverses its course. Come up from the navel to the diaphragm, to the heart, the lungs, the trachea, the throat, back to the nose and then out of the body. So when the air's come out of the body, it kind of is expelled to around 10 centimeters in front of the nose, And there's another slight stop there. So again, stay in that stop at the end of the breath, somewhere in front of your nose. So continue that process now, putting your attention more now on the two stops. The first stop is behind the navel as you breathe in. Follow the breath right the way in, down to behind your diaphragm, right behind your navel there. And the second time is once you've breathed out, the air is expelled from your body, out through your nose, and you place your attention in the stop, in that pause, 10 centimeters in front of your nose before your body breathes in again. Breathe in. Rest. Breathe out. Rest. Breathe in. Rest. Breathe out. Rest. Breathe in. Rest. Breathe out. Rest. As your awareness rests in these two stops, time stops. The mind stops. When the mind becomes quiet, you simply exist without body, without mind, without breath. In that pause, in that stop, just consciousness resting. You become like an empty bowl that's filled with air and emptied. Sitting quietly in the stop, in the gap between breaths. The stop is a door. It's a door to tranquility and peace that's surrounding you, no matter how noisy it is around you. It's possible to find present moment stillness as you sit as an empty bowl, noticing tranquility and peace surrounding you, inside you. Stillness. Stillness. Very good. And so when you're ready, bringing your awareness back from your breath to your body as a whole, sitting on the chair or your cushion, letting go of your awareness on the breath now and bringing your awareness to the whole body. Become aware of your surroundings, opening your eyes and coming back to the room. Feeling yourself moving forward with your day, with your moments, imprinted with a sense of stillness and peace. Well done. Very good. So how was that? How was the empty bowl meditation for you? If you've just joined us now, that's fine. You can go back and review the video for that meditation. We just did a breath meditation. How was that for you? Okay, relaxing, calming. Was it easy for you? Was that difficult? It's a lovely meditation to just calm the mind. No matter what's going on, just come back to the breath and find the gaps in between thoughts. There's always stillness. This is the bizarre thing. It's always possible to find stillness inside us, even in the middle of sitting on a train. Sitting on a train or in the middle of a crowded marketplace or in a film, you can always find a sense of stillness inside. So Maria's saying breathing is quite difficult, but very relaxed though. The breathing, like the gap between the breaths is difficult, Maria, or what was difficult for you? You can just make the gaps shorter if that's easier. But it was relaxing. Good. The gap between. Okay. So in the gap between, it's like imagine that you just let go in that gap. You've got a second in time where everything's suspended. Everything's suspended and you're just not breathing. You're just being in that moment. Bronwyn's saying, I find myself getting frustrated because I find it hard and some part of me rolls my eyes at myself. Oh, I love it. That's so cute. So that's okay. That part can do that if it wants. You get cross when you meditate. Okay, that's fine. So it's coming back to the practice, right? So you get cross because you're not doing it right or it's hard and you don't like things to be hard. So it's just about coming back to the practice. So they just come back to the breath and focus on the 1 second at a time. I think I told you, actually maybe I didn't, but I tell people this often that, or maybe I did, can't remember anyway, that there's research on how many moments people can concentrate for. And they get groups of people in a room and they say, okay, so breathe in and out, and that's 1. And then breathe in and out again, and that's 2. And keep counting with each breath, and then notice when you get distracted. Yeah, promise, I did tell you. It was 7, okay? So you're okay, you're in good company. 7 seconds or 7 breaths is not a lot of time that the average people are able to hold their focus on something. So remember that what we're doing here is training our awareness. If you think that our awareness is really like a wild horse that is just all over the place, running here and there and kind of crazy with it, you're training your attention and just go for a second at a time, which is why I think this empty bowl meditation is actually really lovely, because all you do is let go between the in-breath and the out-breath again. It's just a moment. Start with just that one moment, okay? And of course, the judgment. Maria is saying probably concentrated too hard. So you don't have to concentrate on like we did the mouse hole meditation of putting all your concentration on where the thoughts come from. You don't have to kind of concentrate on that moment. You just have to let go into that moment. Just let go and be still. Even just notice how still you are in that moment. There's not even breath happening. Okay? Good. Yeah, it's not a concentrating, it's a letting go, this one. Good job. So remember, I've said many times, the clear mind and open heart. So that was another practice for you on the clear mind side of things. And I'm going to talk now about the open heart side of things. So that's our classic formula, right? Clear mind plus open heart equals full expression. So let's look at coming back to your heart, how we can do that even though things might not be how we want them to be. So radical acceptance and radical acceptance, rather than just common or garden acceptance, is about accepting yourself, accepting the moment, even if you don't like it. So like some of you were just saying, I can't do it, it's hard, I get cross. Accept that. Can you accept that right now you're cross? Can you accept that right in that moment you're frustrated? Can you accept in that moment that you're feeling peaceful? Can you accept in this moment that you've got cramp in your foot or a headache or toothache? Yeah? So radical acceptance is learning to say yes to the moment first before you judge or get cross with it. And it's hard when things are shitty, but even though they're shitty, they're still happening and you have to accept them as happening, right? That's what I mean by radical acceptance. And I've also talked about how acceptance allows you to stay in your heart, allows you to find openness no matter what. The second place to coming back to your heart is that emotions get in the way, right? And I'm not saying emotions are bad. I'm not saying emotions are wrong in any way at all. I'm simply saying that if you get stuck in your emotions, if you don't clear them as they come up, that gets in the way of your ability to feel open. In other words, if you have a partner or a child or a family member and you are pissed off with them and you've been pissed off with them for a day or a week or a month or a year or a decade, it's going to be very difficult for you to feel completely open towards them or feel your love for them. You need to get that frustration or anger out of you, and then you'll find your heart again. Which is why when we do meditations, when we do dynamic meditations that I I teach sometimes at retreats that we run. It's about emptying, it's like empty house, clean house first, letting go of all the fears and frustrations and upsets and hurt that we have. And then we can be really open. So when we do those kind of emptying meditations, it's like, oh, God, that was painful, but oh, I feel so much better. Oh, what a relief. Yeah, it's that relief. And that's why tears are built into us as a release valve. Thank God that we can cry, because it is just, that's what heals us. That's what allows us to let go of our feelings. Crying or shouting or making noise, those are all release processes. Forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is sometimes a pithy idea that is thrown around as something that you want to forgive everybody and, love everyone. But hang on a minute. It's very difficult to forgive somebody and love someone if you're sitting on a volcano of rage or hate. Yeah, you can't. And I'm very clear about the fact that I don't encourage people to forgive as I just have to forgive them before you've let go of the emotions about it. I don't think that's healthy personally. I know that some people say that forgiveness is the only path. But if you're sitting on a volcano of anger and you put forgiveness on the top of that, you're going to swallow all the anger and make yourself ill, or it's going to show up in other ways. You need to get the anger out, process your feelings about it, and then forgiveness is easy. It's a natural place of, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I acted bad ways. I'm sorry for the ways in which you acted, and I forgive you and I forgive me. You have to forgive yourself first for not being perfect, for finding things hard, for getting into arguments with people, for being sometimes a bitch, or saying things you didn't mean. It's really about forgiving yourself and then others. But please empty your emotions first. Does that make sense, everyone? Really important. Choose compassion. Choosing compassion is a choice. And Mother Teresa was such a beautiful example of choosing compassion. One of my teachers called Amritanandamayi, Mata Amritanandamayi, is a very well-known Indian saint she's called the hugging saint. She gives hugs. She's given 24 million people hugs around the world. And she is all about compassion, as Mother Teresa was as well. Coming back to your heart, choosing to act compassionately, choosing to feel a sense of compassion for someone, even though their behavior might suck, and choosing compassion or forgiveness is not saying that person who was abusive or mean or just downright horrible is that their behavior is nice or okay, or that you condone it. You don't condone their behavior, but you can still have compassion for someone. And a really nice way to understand this is that if people are feeling happy and loving, if their heart is open, if they feel, joyful about the world, it's not possible for them to act nastily. Because love doesn't harm. Love does no harm. Love can't be cruel and mean. So when someone's acting badly and hurting you, it's because they're out of touch with their own heart in that moment. They're feeling pain, they're feeling insecurity, they're feeling rejection from you perhaps. They're feeling triggered by something, and they're not in their heart in that moment. They're not feeling love. Love does no harm. And we can be compassionate towards people who are feeling bad in that moment. We can have compassion that they've lost sight of their hearts, that they're suffering in that moment, and because of their suffering, that they're acting really badly. Most people, when they act badly, feel bad about it, right? They have regret or guilt even about when they've been hurtful or said mean things to you or done things that upset you. If they don't, people who don't feel compassion or who don't feel guilt or regret, who can't feel that, have a personality disorder. That's, the hallmark of a psychopath or a sociopath, is someone who cannot feel guilt or regret for what they do that's harmful. But for everyone else, we have the capacity to feel sorry for what we've done that's hurt others. And it's just a momentary lapse of getting out of our hearts that allows us to be like that. We can understand that about other people too, so that when they're being mean, generally their intention is pure. They don't want to be mean. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just feeling upset in themselves and not dealing with it very well, and therefore they lash out at you. Do you get what I'm saying, everyone? So it's possible to choose compassion. understand at the big picture, this is a good human being, they have good intentions, they just lost their way temporarily. The reason why it's good to do that, to choose compassion, is because it gets you back into your heart, it diffuses conflict, it allows you to find love no matter what, and it also sends a message of care and compassion to them so that they won't feel so bad about themselves, and hopefully they'll be able to resolve conflict much quicker for themselves. So we're going to now do a compassion meditation to help you with the open heart side of things. So again, I want you to get comfy. Go ahead, get yourself comfortable. Find somewhere easy to sit. And go ahead and close your eyes. Bringing your attention to your breath. We're doing a compassion meditation. In Sanskrit, there's a word called metta. It's often called a metta meditation for anyone who's done any Buddhist practice. Metta doesn't have an exact translation in English. The closest that we have is the idea of compassion or loving kindness, which is a sense of deep and abiding care that you can feel towards another human being. It's a sense that you wish no harm to come to that person, and a feeling of holding them in your kindness and care, no matter what's going on for them. Sometimes it's possible to get a sense of that by imagining how a parent might feel towards their child, that you feel in a motherly role towards them. You feel motherly and caring and unconditional, which is very much part of the mother archetype. Now just allow yourself to notice your breath. Don't feel that you have to do anything to your breathing. Just be aware, be curious, and attentive to the physical sensations of breathing in and breathing out. Just watching. Watching your breath happening, all by itself. So allow yourself now to bring your awareness and your attention to that feeling of compassion, loving kindness, or deep and abiding care and concern. So bring to mind someone in your life who is dear and precious to you, whether a friend, family member, perhaps a partner or a child. And imagine yourself enfolding this person that's so dear to you in that feeling of loving kindness. Telling them how important they are to you, how much you love and adore them, how much you care for them, you care for their suffering and their happiness. And allowing yourself to have these thoughts towards this person. May this person know a decrease in distress. May this person know peace and tranquility, at least for a while. May this person know happiness and joy, at least for a while. May this person be able to deal with their suffering. Continue to imagine this person holding them in your mind, sending to the image you have of holding them with loving, kind, and compassionate thoughts. Notice how this feels in your body. What are the physical sensations that come to you when you connect with feelings of loving kindness and compassion? What are the images and thoughts that come? And just notice with gentle curiosity, without judgment, noticing the thoughts, the sensations, and the emotions of loving kindness and compassion. Now I want you to bring to mind yourself and see if you can direct some of that loving kindness and compassion and deep abiding care towards yourself. Imagine embracing yourself with care and concern and loving kindness. And see whether you can have the following thoughts for yourself. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. And I want you to bring to mind now someone that you have difficulty with. Could even be the same person that you loved before. It might be a parent, family member, friend, partner, or a child. Bring to mind someone that you have difficulty with. And imagine sending them loving kindness, care, compassion, goodwill. Imagine bathing them in a sense that you wish no harm to come to that person, and have a feeling of holding them in kindness and care. As you do that, you notice that they have pain too, just like you. They suffer too, just like you. They have challenges too, just like you. And see the reasons for why they may be difficult or acting in the way that they do. See the reasons are because of their own pain, their own suffering, and their own difficulty with dealing with those feelings. And imagine yourself now saying to them, may you be happy. May you be peaceful. And may you be free from suffering. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And may you too be free from suffering. Notice how it feels in your body to send this difficult person love, compassion, kindness. What happens in your heart? What happens in your thoughts? What happens to your feelings? Very good. And then bringing your attention back to your breath, back to your body, to your feet on the floor. Become aware of the room around you. And open your eyes. Okay. How was that? How was the metta meditation or compassion meditation for you? And which was easiest? Was it easier to focus on someone that you care for yourself, or for someone that you have difficulty with? Which was easiest for you? Easy for myself. Oh, difficult for myself. Sarah's saying. Good to understand that a difficult person has their reasons for being difficult. Yep, that's true. Doesn't mean that you condone the bad behavior, but they still suffer like you. Easier for someone you care for, Maria? Yeah, often is. Easiest for your daughter Bronwyn, crying. Yeah, it's a beautiful meditation. The point is here that it gets you into your heart, right? Yeah, you like that one. Okay, good, Bronwyn. It gets you into your heart and gets you outside wanting someone to act like you want them to, or wanting a situation to be how you want it to. It's like everyone's the same. We just want to be happy and we want to avoid suffering. That's what the ego does, remember? Just like you, everyone else on the planet wants to be happy and wants to get out of suffering. And it's just that people, when they're in suffering, act in different ways. Some people shut down, some people get aggressive, some people get critical, some people chuck stuff, some people get violent and aggressive, but we all do that out of suffering. So don't wait for somebody else to behave perfectly towards you. Send them love. You can have love anyway. This is the point, that you can have compassion. You can feel your own heart. You can feel loving kindness, even if someone else is being an absolute arse. Because you have a bigger perspective than that. You have a bigger understanding that this person's being difficult because they're in pain. But it's not an excuse for you to leave your heart, because that causes you pain. Anytime that you leave your heart, you are suffering. And then you've got two people suffering, and that's just pointless. Okay? So bring yourself back to your heart. Bring yourself back to finding love and care and compassion. And just by the intention of sending loving kindness, it can change your own state, which therefore improves your day no end, even if that other person's still being difficult. And there are countless stories of how by doing a compassion meditation, the other person actually changes. Because remember, we're all energy, and sending out love creates a pretty different vibe to sending out resentment and anger and hate. They've done some amazing meditations where they get, 100,000 people meditating in a city. And what happens? Crime rates go down hugely. I can't remember the statistics personally, but there are big decreases in crime rates when, significant numbers of people get together and meditate and pump love out. It's amazing what we can do. So take responsibility for feeling love. And one of my teachers used to say, there is no reason big enough to close your heart for. There is no reason big enough or bad enough to close your own heart, because you suffer. If you're not feeling love, it's uncomfortable, it's tight, it's anxiety, it's horrible to not feel love. Okay, so take responsibility for that and keep coming back to this meditation. It's so beautiful. Good, lovely, well done. Okay, so that's what we've been looking at: the clear mind, the empty bowl meditation, the open heart, the compassion meditation equals full expression. Remember, what I mean by full expression is being fully yourself, not holding back, not getting withdrawn and stuck and closed, being fully who you are, expressing your gifts out into the world and making the big difference that you want to make. So your homework is radical acceptance, the practice of saying yes to what is, the practice of agreeing with what life's giving you, not because you want it to continue, because it's happening right in this moment. If you don't want it to continue, then you change something, but you have to accept it first, because what is. The empty bowl meditation of finding the pause between the breaths and feeling the emptiness and stillness of the core of you in amongst all the activity, the mental activity, the physical organs that are pumping your blood and digesting your food and creating chemical equations in your liver all the time, like making you work as a machine. Finding the stillness of presence, finding the stillness of consciousness in amongst all that activity. The compassion meditation of connecting with your heart no matter how someone else is. And also coming back to, you are not this. You are not this. You are not this feeling. You are not this thought. You are not this experience. You are consciousness. You are the electricity that lights up the lamp, that lights the bulb. You're not the bulb. You are the consciousness, the electricity that lights it up. The difference between you alive and you not alive is the consciousness, right? It's the same body, But you being alive has this vitality of consciousness in you. Everything that's alive is the same. So knowing that you are not this that you think you are in that moment, you are not this suffering, you are not this thought, you are not this feeling, you are not this situation or circumstance. You are way, way, way bigger than that. You are consciousness. And the more often you can find that and let go of the petty things and the small things and the insignificant things that the ego gets hooked up into, and come back to this infinite stillness and infinite presence, even just for a moment, it changes everything. So that's some homework for you. And even though we're wrapping up this series with this last webinar, as I said before, mindfulness is a practice. It's not a rival. It's not something that you arrive with. It's a practice in the moment. And I'd love you all to support each other. If you want to touch base in the Facebook group I set up for you, or the Facebook kind of post that I set up for you, touch base with each other. Have a buddy, like touch base and ask for some accountability around this if you want. You might want to say to your buddy that I'm going to do a compassion meditation every day for a week, or I'm going to do mindful minutes. I'm going to set myself an alarm and do mindful minutes every day for a week. Don't give yourself tasks that are too big that you'll prove to yourself, oh, it's too hard, I can't do this stuff. Give yourself small tasks that you know you can commit to and achieve. So feel free to buddy up. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. You can keep touching base with me and asking. But this is just an introductory series of webinars just to give you some tools that you can go out there and use in your daily life. However, as I said, it's an ongoing practice. It's not just coming to the webinars. It's how you approach every minute, how you approach every hour, how you approach challenges, and how you approach the easy times. So please stay. And if you find it hard, and if you find that you have challenges at the moment, that's the time to practice more, is when things are hard. Not when things are easy and you go, oh, this is easy. It's like practice when it's hard. So freedom, the last point in that, the opportunity in mindfulness is freedom, the end of suffering. Ultimately, the more we practice this, the more we let go of wanting life to be a certain way and demanding that we get what we want. You can get to a place where suffering's not possible anymore. I've met maybe a couple of people in my life in that state, and it is absolutely extraordinary to see a human being who doesn't identify themselves with ego anymore, to be in the presence of someone who doesn't have needs or fears or anxieties like most of us do, is the biggest gift. It's heaven, it's bliss, it's seeing the ultimate perfection of a human being that's not driven by ego anymore. Is just exquisite. However, for us mere mortals that are probably not going to be fully enlightened next week, it's just coming back to experiencing oneself as presence, because stillness and freedom and happiness are always, always available to us, because that's our true nature. It's like if we're feeling ourselves tight and contracted and stuck and upset, it's like, what am I believing in this moment to cause this state? What am I believing? What am I pretending is true? I'm pretending I'm not good enough, that's right. Or I'm pretending like nobody loves me, or I'm pretending that I'm going to be a failure if the washing up's not done. That's not true. It was never true. It's never going to be true. Come back to the present moment, breathe, open your heart, send compassion to yourself, have compassion and love yourself for having a difficult time. You need to love yourself. You need to send compassion to yourself, even though the washing up's not done, or even though you feel like shit, or even though you've got a headache or period pain, or your partner or girlfriend or boyfriend's being mean to you. Send love anyway, to yourself first and then to them. And in that place, you can find yourself as this presence, as this spaciousness. All we're looking for is the stillness, is the spaciousness, because in that place, nothing else exists. And I remember when I was maybe meditating a lot, or when I really click into that place of presence, honestly, it feels like I could never, ever have a problem with anything ever again. Because in that place, it's not possible. And then eventually something will trigger me and get back into the old, grumbling and griping and stuff about things. But Once you know how to get there, then it's always there and you can always take yourself back to that presence. So it's just allowing yourself to keep practicing, keep opening, and just moment by moment making different choices. Remember, you are not this. You are not this challenge. You are not this situation. Keep coming back to that. Such a beautiful mantra. We're just changing the relationship with your mind. The mind isn't something that you programmed. Somebody else programmed it for you with all the things that you experienced up until probably the age of 7. That's when the majority of our programming happens. So it's just that, like a CD, it's been programmed with stuff that may not be helpful. And it's just seeing through that and letting it go so that you can become a master to your own mind. So I'm going to stay behind now for question time. If you have questions you want to ask me, you want to share any wins or share any challenges or get some coaching on things that are coming up for you, I will stay behind after the end of the call here. But now I'll wrap up and just thank you so much for joining in. I've loved sharing this journey with you. It's so profound. You get the videos for this, so keep reviewing it, keep going over it, and keep practicing and coming back to me if you have any other questions or want further support. So I'm available for coaching. I'm available for ongoing retreats, for deepening retreats. If you want to come, I do mindfulness retreats here at my place as well. You can come and hang out with me for 2 or 3 days, and we kind of dive deep into mindfulness and what's available for you. So that's really fun. I love doing those. So it's been beautiful, and I will wrap up the call now, but feel free if you want to stay on the line. I will open now for questions. So thanks everybody. If you need to go, that's fine. I'll be in touch soon. Otherwise, we'll have questions now. Thank you, everybody. So what question do you have? If you want me to come and open the line to you, just put your hand up. If you have any questions, just type them into the question box. If you have any wins or challenges, let me know. Be great to have a chat with you, so just put your hands up if you want me to open the line. Okay, question about which process to use when. All right, Sarah, so for that, simply just which one works best for you, okay? So I've given you quite a few different techniques and processes. Whichever one you liked best, whichever one worked easiest for you, use that one first, because that'll give you the confidence to, keep applying them. And then you can work with different ones. Obviously, I've given you different ones for different things. So we've got particular processes for clear mind. I've given you different processes for open heart as well. So what's ever going on for you, if you're stressed, you can use the clear mind practices, the mouse hole moments, watching for the mouse hole ones, or mindful minutes. You can do the mountain meditation to get out of your thoughts. If you're having conflict with somebody or a difficult time with somebody, you can then use the compassion meditation to come back to your heart and let go of your judgments around them. We also did the letting go of labels practice, just looking at things around you without the labels and the judgments. That's really helpful as well with people. And again, try all of them at different times, because you'll find that some of them are really easy for you, some are more challenging. But even the ones that are more challenging, you might get a lot of benefit from if you just push through a little bit of difficulty with it. So keep going. Okay, good. Any other questions or hands up? No, looks all right. Okay, good. Okay, well, do stay in touch, everyone. If you want to do any further work, or you want to have a discussion about, what's happening for you, just feel free to get in touch. And I thank you so much for joining me. I've really, really loved sharing everything with you. So I hope you enjoy more mindful moments in your life and some more peace, no matter what's going on around you. Thanks so much, everyone. Lots of love to you all. Take care. Bye.